Sebastian Fundora successfully defended his 154-pound title, beating Tim Tszyu, beating him up over 7 rounds to the point where Tim Tszyu did not come out to start the 8th. This was a rematch of a somewhat controversial fight from last year where Fundora beat Tszyu to win the title. That was a fight that was marred by the cut that was on the head of Tim Tszyu early on, affected him over the course of that fight. There was no cuts in this one. There was no doubt either who the better fighter was. Sebastian Fundora just blows away Tim Tszyu to defend his title. Let's start with Fundora. What did you think of how he fought in this fight?
Fundora fought like he always fights. He fights Mexican style, but a 6'6" Mexican, the southpaw with 80+ inch reach. But that's his style. It's hard to stop that style, even if he was 5'6". It's lunacy to want to face a guy like this again. When you get by once with a scary fight like that, you don't go back there again. That's ignorance. That is ignorance by Tim Tszyu, Team Tim Tszyu, everyone involved with this, except Fundora. They should be kicking themselves for making this decision again, because at 30 years old, Tim Tszyu is a shot fighter because of those stupid decisions, because of that dumb matchmaking, because of that ignorance and pride, because that great name, that Tszyu name that his father Kostya created, he was following along and he was magic, man. He had that same look, the same style, seek and destroy. He was humble outside and a killer inside. You can sell that, man. And we all know, the fighters from Australia, they have that fan base. Wherever they go, they're going to bring it. So all over the world, no matter who they fight, they're going to be stars. He was supposed to be the next star, but stupid decisions, ignorance, matchmaking, promotion, management, everyone behind Tim Tszyu ruined this young man's career because he's a shot fighter. And I want to cuss. It's a damn shame, man. It's a damn shame.
All right, I do want to say this, though, about Fundora. He is fast becoming one of the best fighters in boxing. It's not a flawless style that he fights. He does not take advantage of his physical tools as much as he should. He is 6'6", fighting guys that are at most 5'10", and he's fighting them on the inside. But when he gets on the inside, he's winning most of these battles. First round, comes up with a straight left hand right down the middle, puts Tszyu on his back early on, proceeds to beat him up over the next 6 rounds. Took some shots in there, but had an incredible overall performance. Offensively, he is just a monster in the ring. You cannot breathe for 1 minute when you're fighting Sebastian Fundora. I just want to say one other thing about Fundora, because this was something that came up during his fight week. I'm shocked that this wasn't a bigger deal. Sebastian Fundora got into Harvard. The man got into Harvard.
What?
And in the fall is going to begin a 6-year engineering program at Harvard. This is what I'm saying, Sergio. You're saying, what? You didn't know anything about this. I'm shocked. This is one of the best stories I've even heard of in boxing. A 27-year-old world champion in the prime of his career, set to make multi-million-dollar paydays over the next couple of years. He's still going to fight. Like, he's not retiring or anything like that. But while he's training, he's going to go to Harvard. He's going to go at one of the most challenging institutions in all of America to begin a 6-year engineering program. That is crazy. Round of applause for Sebastian Fundora for doing that. That is a remarkable accomplishment. And believe me, I'm into this story. Like I've talked to his team.
You better be into this story, and I better see like a 6-page article on your Sports Illustrated, because that drops my jaw to the floor. I'm not only giving Sebastian Fundora credit, I'm giving Mr. and Mrs. Mom and Pop Fundora credit for this. Incredible to hear that. It's hard to believe, because when you attach boxers to college, you know that I'm only a few units away from my degree, by the way.
If I have to hear one more time.
That's crazy. I mean, that is nuts. You couldn't even get into Harvard.
I didn't get into Harvard.
That's commendable.
I'm proud of my Boston College education, but I wasn't Harvard worthy. That's for sure. Wow. An incredible achievement for Sebastian.
That'll be one of the greatest stories in boxing history. World champion.
He announced Harvard it midweek graduate. During fight week. I'm sure some people wrote about it and I missed it, but I didn't see much coverage of that. I think that is an incredible story. I fully intend to follow up and investigate not investigate, but like dig into how that happened and profile kind of how that happened. On Tim Tszyu, I agree with almost everything you said there. I think that Tim Tszyu's team over the last year has done a remarkably awful job at managing his career. Like they have managed and trained him like people that were determined to ruin him. And it goes back to the decision.
Whoa. Those are strong words right there.
I'm saying it looks like.
Are you inferring, Chris Mannix, that this was planned or?
No, of course not. But that's how the decisions they've made have been so questionable that you look at them like, what are these guys even thinking? Like, he was scheduled
Didn't the Saudis and His Excellency offer him huge money to face Virgil Ortiz at one point or something like that? Wasn't he offered big money to face someone on one of these Riyadh seasons? I think it was Virgil Ortiz.
Interest. There was interest. Obviously, everything that happened last year completely derailed that interest. But I want to get to my point. Like, you focused on the Bakram Murtalayev fight as being an example of poor matchmaking. I'm less concerned or bothered by that because Murtalayev, going into that fight, I didn't think he was great. And if you get an opportunity to fight for a world title in that position, most guys are probably going to take it. My two big problems with the management and the training of Tim Tszyu. Number one, when you're scheduled to face Keith Thurman, and Keith Thurman, who is 5'6" and orthodox, at the last minute, you pivot to Sebastian Fundora, who's 6'6" and southpaw. That was crazy to do stuff like that. On top of it, second round of that fight with Fundora, I think it was the second round, the elbow to the head opens up an awful cut that is bleeding all the way down the face of Sebastian Fundora. Any trainer worth his salt would have said to the commission, my guy cannot fight 11 more rounds of this or 10 more rounds of this or whatever it was. Instead, they let that fight continue to the point where it got past the fourth round, and by that point, it was too late. If the fight gets stopped, then it goes to the scorecards. If they had stopped that fight in the second or the third round, Tim Tszyu's career might have gone a complete different direction. He would have been able to maintain his place as a champion. He wouldn't have had to fight Bakram Murtalayev for a world title. He could have recovered in a natural way. Instead, they put him in with a guy so aesthetically different than Keith Thurman and then allowed him to fight through a grotesque cut on his head. And then later, if you want to spin this forward, Tim Tszyu on the comeback trail goes back to Australia, beats Joey Spencer, and all of a sudden his team thinks he's then ready for a rematch with Fundora. He needed at least 2 fights, maybe 3, to get to a level skills-wise and confidence-wise to fight Fundora for a second time. You watched that fight, Sergio. Did you see anything different in Tim Tszyu? The head movement's not there. No. He still is a guy that when he gets hit, he turns into a warrior. And I give him credit for that. That's in his DNA. But his team, his training staff, his management, they have done just a terrible job at
No. Use another word, Mr. Ryder. Use a more harsher word than terrible, because that's what it is. The worst of the worst. That's what Tim Tszyu did to that young man. 30-year-old, and he shot already. This guy was supposed to be a future star that came from Legacy. To put him up against a 6'6" southpaw, and then put him up against. Stop saying his name. Every time you say Murtalayev's name, I get chills in the back of my neck. Against this undefeated, tough, heart-punching Russian, and then give him a gimme to like Spencer just for him to get his confidence back and put him right back in there with a towering inferno. Man, I hate to say, but maybe people need to get investigated. I'm telling you.
I don't know if I go.
Why the hell?
I just think they have read the room really wrong. They have read these situations really wrong. They put their fighter in unwinnable positions.
Yes.
Just from start to finish over the last year. And that, if I'm Tim Tszyu, if I'm Tim Tszyu and I want to keep going, and he is 30 years old, we've seen guys come back from worse. But if he wants to keep going, he has got to revamp everything. He has got to clean house.
To young fighters, out there, whether Australian or not, don't gravitate. Don't even look in the direction of whoever were the people in charge of Tim Tszyu's career, because I'm telling you, it was a career that was brought down so immediately, that has so much potential to make life-changing money, and one and two bad decisions ruined that kid's career. It's a
All
shame.
right.